The night sky was calm, filled with stars that looked like tiny diamonds scattered on black velvet. Far from the crowded cities, in a small observatory on the edge of a desert, a man named Daniel worked alone. He was an astronomer who loved to spend hours watching the silence of space. For years, Daniel had scanned the sky with his telescope, searching for something unusual, something that could prove humans were not alone. Most nights passed with nothing more than moving comets or blinking satellites. But tonight was different. Daniel noticed a light that did not belong. It was not a star, not a planet, and not a satellite. It pulsed slowly like it was breathing. First dim, then bright, then dim again. He frowned and adjusted the telescope lens, but the light stayed. It was far beyond the known star systems, yet it was too sharp to be a natural object. The strange light seemed to move, as if it wanted to be seen. He quickly recorded the coordinates and ran a scan. His computer beeped with strange readings. The light emitted a frequency, almost like a coded message. Daniel's heart raced. Could this be a signal? He knew the universe was vast, but for the first time it felt alive, as if something out there was reaching toward him. He wanted to call the research center, but something inside told him to wait. What if it vanished before anyone else could see? The hours passed and the light grew brighter. Soon it was visible even to the naked eye, a small glowing dot moving against the stars. Daniel grabbed his camera and recorded everything. Suddenly the power in the observatory flickered. The lights dimmed and his computer froze. Only the telescope feed continued, showing the strange light pulsing faster now, almost like a heartbeat. Daniel whispered to himself, "What are you?" At the same time, across the world, others began to notice. Farmers in quiet villages saw the moving light. Travelers on lonely highways pointed at the glowing object in the sky. Videos appeared online, and people argued if it was just a drone, a star, or something more. Governments stayed silent, but military satellites turned their eyes toward the region of space where the light danced. The world was watching, but no one understood. Daniel did not sleep that night. He kept recording, taking notes, and trying to decode the strange frequency. It reminded him of Morse code, but not exact. It was like a language no one had ever spoken. Sometimes the light blinked in 3 short bursts, then a long one, then silence. Other times it glowed steady, almost like it was waiting for a reply. Daniel wondered if the light was alive, if it was aware of him watching. Morning came, but the light did not fade. News channels finally spoke about it. "Mysterious object in the sky," the headlines said. Some called it a natural event, others called it an alien sign. Crowds gathered on rooftops at night, waiting to see the glowing star. Fear and excitement spread across nations. Religions declared it a sign from the heavens. Scientists argued on television, but no one had real answers. The world was divided, yet united by the same question: what is the strange light? Back at the observatory, Daniel grew obsessed. He barely ate or slept. He played the recorded frequency again and again. Then one moment something changed. The beeping sound from the signal matched a pattern on his computer screen. It formed shapes, not random noise. He saw a triangle, then a circle, then a series of lines. It looked like symbols. His hands shook as he realized this was not just light. It was communication. Someone or something was trying to speak. Days passed and the light grew even brighter, now visible in cities where people rarely saw stars. Panic spread. Some believed it was a weapon, others believed it was hope. Governments scrambled jets and satellites to study it, but the object was always far away, untouchable and mysterious. Strangely, Daniel received an email from someone he did not know. The message was short: "Do not trust them. The light is not what it seems." He read it again and again, his chest heavy with fear. Who sent this? How did they know what he was working on? He checked the sender, but the address did not exist. His hands trembled as he looked back at the pulsing star through his telescope. For the first time, he felt not just curiosity, but also danger. One night, while he stared at the sky, the light blinked rapidly in a sequence he had never seen before. His computer translated it into a single English word: wait. Daniel's blood ran cold. It was impossible, yet it happened. The strange light was no longer just a mystery. It was watching, listening, and speaking. Far away in a dark control room filled with monitors, people in uniforms watched the same light. They had data Daniel could only dream of. The object was moving closer to Earth, slowly but surely. And they knew something Daniel did not. It was not the first time this light had appeared in human history. Records hidden deep in government vaults spoke of the same glow seen centuries ago, before wars, before great disasters. It always came as a warning, and it always disappeared before humans understood it. Now it had returned, and this time it was brighter than ever. Daniel had not slept for 2 nights. His eyes were red, his desk covered with empty coffee cups and pages filled with strange symbols. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the light blinking in the darkness. The word wait kept echoing in his head. He could not understand how a star could speak, but the proof was right on his computer screen. He felt trapped between excitement and fear. He wanted to share his discovery, but the mysterious email still bothered him. Do not trust them. The light is not what it seems. The words were simple, yet they carried a heavy weight. Who were they? The government, the scientists, or the beings behind the strange light? Daniel did not know, but he felt like he had stepped into a game much bigger than himself. The world outside was changing. Crowds gathered every night to look at the strange star. People prayed, sang, and argued under the glowing sky. Some believed it was a message of peace. Others feared it was a weapon or a sign of the end of the world. The internet overflowed with theories, and yet no one had answers. But in a hidden corner of the government, answers already existed. In a dark archive beneath a military base, old files were unlocked for the first time in decades. Dusty boxes contained records from the past century, even older reports written by explorers and sailors. Each report described the same strange light appearing in the sky before disasters. In 1914, soldiers in Europe wrote of a star that pulsed before the Great War began. In 1945, a pilot reported a glowing object that vanished days before the atomic bomb fell. Even older records from the 1600s told of fishermen who saw a breathing star before a plague swept through their village. Every story ended the same. The light appeared, pulsed like a warning, and then disappeared, leaving chaos behind. The government had kept these records hidden, labeling them as myths or unexplained phenomena. But now, with the light returning stronger than ever, they had no choice but to reopen the files. And the forgotten warning was clear. The light always came before something terrible. Daniel knew nothing of these files, but he sensed the danger. He tried contacting other astronomers, but many avoided the topic. Some replied in fear, saying they were told not to investigate. Others simply ignored him. It was as if a silent hand was stopping the truth from spreading. The more Daniel tried, the more isolated he felt. One night, while reviewing the recordings, he noticed something strange. The blinking patterns matched an old file stored in the observatory computer. It was an old research paper from 1972, written by a professor who had suddenly disappeared. The paper mentioned a celestial pulse seen in South America. The professor claimed it was not just a star but a signal. His last line in the report chilled Daniel. "It warns us, but we never listen." Daniel leaned back, his mind spinning. The professor knew. The government probably knew. But why hide it? Why pretend it was nothing, unless the warning was not just about a natural disaster, but something far worse? The strange light blinked again in the sky. Daniel whispered, "What are you trying to say? What are you warning us about?" His computer beeped, translating the new signal. This time it showed another English word. Soon. His heart raced. Soon what? Soon danger? Soon arrival. He typed the word into his notes, underlining it again and again. He felt the urge to warn the world, but he remembered the email. Do not trust them. Trust who? Who was lying and who was telling the truth? Far away in a control room, men in uniforms watched the same signal. They did not broadcast the real message to the public. Instead, they told the media that the light was just a rare space phenomenon. They feared mass panic. But the truth was even darker. They had been warned before, and every time they ignored it, disaster followed. Now the warning had returned, stronger than ever. Daniel's phone rang suddenly, breaking the silence. He picked it up, but no one spoke. Only static filled his ear, and then faintly he heard a voice whisper, "Stop watching the light." His hands shook and he dropped the phone. He ran to the window and looked up. The light still pulsed, calm and steady, as if nothing had happened. But Daniel no longer felt calm. He felt watched. That night he dreamed of a burning city, skies filled with fire, people running, buildings collapsing. In the middle of it all, the strange light hung above, pulsing slowly like it was waiting for something. He woke up sweating, his body cold, his heart racing. It was just a dream, but it felt like a warning. The strange light still pulsed in the night sky, steady and calm, but Daniel's heart was far from calm. The warning signs grew louder each day, yet the world refused to listen. People continued to argue, governments continued to deny, and the light continued to grow closer. It was like watching a storm forming on the horizon, while everyone else pretended the sky was clear. Daniel could not ignore it anymore. He kept searching through old archives, reading every forgotten paper, every strange report. Each record told him the same thing. The light was never just light. It always came before destruction. But none of the records explained why. What was the cause? Was it a natural disaster or something else? The answer stayed hidden, like a shadow behind the stars. One evening, as Daniel sat in the observatory, he heard footsteps outside. He froze. No one ever visited him at night. Slowly the door creaked open, and a man in a dark coat stepped inside. His face was partly hidden by the light of the telescope screen. "You should stop your research," the man said in a low, firm voice. Daniel stood, nervous but angry. "Who are you? How do you know about my work?" The man didn't answer directly. Instead, he pulled out a small folder and placed it on the desk. "This is all you need to know. The light is not new. It has been here before. And it never comes alone." Without another word, the man turned and left, disappearing into the night. Daniel opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside were photographs, black and white images of the sky taken decades ago. In each photo, the same strange pulsing light appeared. But what made Daniel's blood run cold were the last few pictures. They showed burned villages, destroyed ships, and entire cities in ruins. On the back of one photograph, words were written, "They arrive when the light opens the way." He stared at the words, his mind racing. They? Who were they? Were they the ones sending the signal? Or were they something darker, something hiding behind the signal? The word enemy echoed in his head, though he didn't want to believe it. That night, Daniel noticed something new. The light in the sky wasn't alone anymore. Smaller dots appeared near it, faint at first, but growing clearer as the hours passed. They looked like tiny stars moving in formation. His telescope revealed more detail. They were not stars. They were objects, solid, sharp, and moving with purpose. "Ships," he gasped, his hands shaking. "No, this can't be." The smaller lights moved like hunters, circling around the main pulsing star. For the first time, Daniel realized the truth. The strange light was not just a warning. It was a doorway. And something was coming through. Meanwhile, in government control rooms, officials already knew. Satellites tracked dozens of unidentified objects, moving near the edge of the solar system. Military leaders whispered behind closed doors, debating if they should prepare for war. But they refused to tell the public, afraid of panic. Instead, they watched silently, hoping the objects would vanish. But deep down, they knew the enemy was real. Daniel's recordings captured the objects clearly. He tried to upload them online, but each time his internet crashed. It was as if someone was blocking him. Angry and desperate, he drove into town to use a public network. But before he could post the files, his phone buzzed. A new message appeared. "Stop now or you will disappear like the others." Fear tightened his chest. Who were these people watching him? How did they know his every move? He felt trapped, like a pawn in a game he didn't understand. Still, he couldn't stop. If the enemy was coming, humanity needed to know. That night the light blinked again, and Daniel's computer translated another word. Awake. He didn't understand. Awake what? Awake who? Was the light speaking to him, or to the hidden ships around it? He zoomed in through the telescope, his breath catching in his throat. One of the smaller lights had changed direction. It was moving, not toward the light, but toward Earth. Daniel's hands went cold. His mind screamed at him to run, to hide, but he couldn't look away. He watched as the object moved faster, brighter, until it disappeared from the telescope's view. Somewhere in the night sky, something was already on its way. Elsewhere, in a secret bunker, alarms sounded. Military officers shouted as radar screens lit up. An unidentified craft had entered the atmosphere. Jets were launched, but communication was cut off almost immediately. The craft moved faster than anything human made, vanishing into the clouds. The enemy had arrived and no one was ready. Daniel sat in silence, staring at the word on his screen. Awake. He realized the horrible truth. The light was not just warning them. It was calling to them, inviting them, opening the path for something that had always been hidden, waiting in the dark. The world thought the strange light was a mystery. Daniel now knew it was far worse. It was a signal. And the hidden enemy was no longer hidden. They were here. The world was no longer the same. The strange light pulsed brighter than ever, and the smaller objects around it grew clearer each night. People no longer argued if it was real. Now they argued about what it meant. Some demanded peace, others screamed for war. Fear spread like fire, and governments tightened their grip, hiding truths while preparing for the worst. Daniel felt trapped between two worlds, the quiet life of an astronomer and the terrifying knowledge of what was coming. He had seen the craft that entered Earth's skies. He knew the hidden enemy was real, and yet no one believed him. The media kept repeating the same lie. It is only a natural event. But Daniel knew better. Days later, strange reports filled the news. Villages in remote areas claimed they saw glowing objects in the night. Farmers found their cattle gone, their fields burned with strange marks. A pilot went missing mid-flight, his last words recorded on radio. "They are here." The evidence was growing, but still the leaders of the world stayed silent. Daniel could not stay silent. He uploaded his recordings once again, this time through a secret channel. Within hours, thousands of people watched his video. Some called him crazy, others called him a hero, but the truth spread like wildfire. And the more people watched, the more Daniel felt eyes watching him. The warning in the old message echoed in his mind, "You will disappear like the others." That night, while Daniel studied the sky, his telescope caught something new. Not just lights or signals, shapes. Dark, massive shapes hiding between the stars. They looked like ships, but unlike anything human-made. Their outlines were jagged, unnatural, almost alive. They moved slowly, but with purpose. He whispered, "They're preparing." Across the world, military forces activated. Fighter jets patrolled the skies. Submarines moved silently beneath oceans. Satellites armed themselves in orbit. But for all their power, there was fear in every command. Humanity had weapons, but against what? Against who? No one knew. Then the first encounter came. In a desert region, soldiers were sent after a glowing object that had landed. Their radios captured only fragments of words before silence fell. Hours later, only their burned vehicles were found. No bodies, no answers. Just silence and the strange marks carved into the sand, marks that looked like symbols. The same symbols Daniel had seen in his signal recordings. Governments tried to hide it, but news leaked. The world trembled. Some begged for peace talks, others demanded retaliation. The light in the sky pulsed faster, almost like it was laughing. Daniel studied the new signal, his computer translating it into chilling words. Choose. Choose what? Choose who? His mind spun. Was the message meant for him, or for humanity itself? He felt a pressure in his chest, a weight heavier than fear. The battle of wills had begun, not with weapons, but with choices. Would humanity bow in fear or stand in defiance? In secret rooms, leaders argued. Some wanted to send messages of peace, offering alliance. Others wanted to strike first, destroy the incoming ships before they reached Earth. The room grew divided, voices raised, until one general spoke clearly. If they are enemies, peace will not save us. If they are friends, war will not save us either. We must test their will. And so humanity prepared for its first true confrontation. Not a battle of guns, but a battle of wills. A single ship was launched into space, carrying a message written in every language of Earth. "We see you. We know you. We are not afraid." Daniel watched the broadcast, his heart pounding. Humanity was speaking finally. But would the hidden enemy listen? Or would they strike? Hours passed, the world holding its breath. Then from the strange light a reply came. The pulsing star blinked rapidly, and Daniel's computer translated, "Prove." The message spread quickly. Scientists debated its meaning. What did they want proven? Strength, peace, submission? No one knew. But Daniel felt deep inside it was a challenge. They were testing humanity, measuring if humans were weak or strong, if they were prey or something more. That night Daniel could not sleep. He remembered the old files, the forgotten warnings. The light always came before destruction. But maybe this time there was a chance to change the pattern. Maybe this time humanity could prove itself. But then something terrifying happened. In the middle of the night, Daniel woke to the sound of static from his computer. The signal had returned, and the translation showed a new word: decide. At the same time, his telescope showed a massive shadow moving closer to Earth. One of the ships was no longer waiting. It was coming. The battle of wills was no longer a quiet test. The gateway in the sky grew larger each night. What was once a strange pulsing star now burned like a wound in the darkness. From it ships emerged, dark shapes that blotted out the stars as they moved. They were massive, silent, and terrifying. Humanity could no longer deny it. The enemy had arrived. Across the world, fear turned to chaos. Cities prepared for attacks, governments declared states of emergency, and people fled to underground shelters. But the greatest danger was not the enemy, it was division. The alliance of nations had already broken. Some still believed they could make peace, while others prepared for war. And in their arguments, valuable time was lost. Daniel watched helplessly from his observatory. Every night he recorded the gateway. Every night more ships appeared. His computer continued to translate the signals. The words grew darker: submit, kneel, obey. They were not messages of peace. They were demands. Daniel whispered into the empty room, "We will never kneel." But his heart was heavy. How could humanity fight such power? How could fragile humans stand against machines that crossed the stars? Then one night the enemy struck. Without warning, a city on the coast was attacked. Witnesses described beams of light cutting through buildings like paper. Streets turned to fire and the skies burned. Thousands vanished in moments. The world froze in horror. The enemy had shown their power, but humanity was not ready to surrender. For the first time, something remarkable happened. In the face of destruction, the broken nations began to rise together. Old enemies called each other as allies. Scientists shared secrets they had kept hidden. Soldiers of different flags stood side by side. Humanity, divided for so long, finally remembered who they were. They were not just nations. They were one species, and they would fight. Daniel watched the news as humanity prepared. Fleets of ships launched into the skies. Jets roared across the clouds. For the first time, humans aimed their weapons not at each other, but at the enemy above. The words of the hidden message echoed in his mind: "They fear you more than you think." Perhaps, just perhaps, there was hope. The first great battle began above Earth's atmosphere. Human ships, fragile compared to the enemy, flew in swarms. They moved faster, smaller, harder to hit. The enemy's massive ships fired beams of destruction, but humans did not give up. They attacked with missiles, lasers, and weapons built in secret labs. Some ships fell burning into the sea below, but others struck true, piercing enemy armor and forcing the giants to retreat. On the ground, cities defended themselves. Tanks rolled through streets, firing at smaller enemy crafts that descended like hunters. Civilians armed themselves, refusing to run. Humanity fought with everything they had, not just machines, but willpower. Daniel stayed in his observatory, tracking the signals. His computer blinked again and again, showing new words: resist, defy, fight. For a moment he froze. Were these messages from the enemy, or from something else? Perhaps the light was not just an enemy signal. Perhaps it was also a test, a voice urging humans to rise. The battle raged for hours. The skies were fire, the seas boiling with wreckage. But humanity did not surrender, and slowly, incredibly, the enemy began to falter. Their great ships were strong, but they were not prepared for human defiance. Every strike, every sacrifice, every act of courage made the invaders hesitate. In one desperate move, humans launched their greatest weapon, a pulse designed to shut down enemy systems. It had been untested, built in secret. Scientists warned it could also damage Earth's own systems, but there was no choice. The weapon was fired. A great wave of energy spread across the sky, crackling like thunder. For a moment, the world went silent. Lights flickered. Screens went dark. Even Daniel's telescope froze. Then, one by one, the massive enemy ships began to fall. Some drifted back through the gateway. Others exploded in brilliant flashes. Humanity had struck them down. Cheers rose across the world. Soldiers cried in relief. Families embraced. Strangers hugged in the streets. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had fought and they had survived, but Daniel did not celebrate. He stared at the gateway still burning in the sky. It did not close. In fact, it grew brighter, as if the enemy had only begun. His computer beeped again, translating a final message. Not over. His heart sank. Humanity had won the first battle, but the war was far from finished. The enemy was wounded, not defeated, and the gateway was still open. Daniel looked out at the horizon, at the world scarred but unbroken, and whispered, "We proved ourselves. Now we must prove again." The final stand was not just one battle, it was the beginning of something greater. Humanity had faced the darkness and survived. But the true test was still to come.